Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Propulsion Swimming Podcast. This week we are reviewing BUCS Long Course Nationals that have just happened at Ponds Forge in Sheffield. A weekend that I was poolside for all of the swimming, as we discussed at the end of last week's episode, the preview episode that we did. Not too much to take away from slow swims because there are going to be people who are in heavy training blocks training through BUCS, but there's always a few notable swims that stand out, and we're going to talk through those as well as our general opinions of the racing down this weekend.
Well, you say there were the times weren't that quick, but there were some standout swims I thought,
There were definitely some
British records were nearly on the cards, and I think Faye Rogers got a European record, I think, in 100 fly for the para. Yeah. So there were some good times. And like with every BUCS competition, there's a good atmosphere as well. Maybe not quite as good as short course. I don't know if it's because it's a longer setting, if you like. Short course is all very much compact, but I'm sure we'll get to the atmosphere later on. And I like the fact there was a bit of needle. Looking on social medias and what we posted.
There was a little bit here and there.
A needle at the end of these relays, and we will definitely talk about that. We'll get to that.
I loved it. Like we said in a preview episode that swimming needs story. I was fairly negative last week's episode. You caught me on a bad week if you listened to last week's episode. But swimming needs storylines. It needs entertainment. Like, at the end of the day, if you're not partaking in sport needs to be entertainment for people. And building storylines, building rivalries, of which I think they're stepping stones to some big ones.
There should be.
Over the next few years.
Yeah.
It's what we love to see, and like there was a lot of it.
I don't know if
it got feisty at the end. Slightly feisty.
It's for everyone's taste, especially like British culture. It's like, oh, it's a bit too much. It's only BUCS, but actually, like this is what's needed. You know,
I loved it.
Yeah, no, I really liked it. We'll get to that because there were some certain swimmers that really were almost in their faces. Brilliant. I loved it. Really got the crowd going as well. But yeah, we'll get to that towards the end.
There was. Okay, let's talk swimmers of the weekend then. And then we will go into like top squads, the end of results, and then our thoughts in general. And maybe to watch out for in future BUCS. So, Ollie Morgan, okay? First race of the meet for him was the men's 100 backstroke. He gets within 1/100th of the British record already.
Yeah, what on earth?
I can tell you, maybe he did think that was coming actually. Going into the final session, he was feeling really, really good in the heats from what I heard. But a 52.71, unrested.
Well, that's the thing.
Unrested.
I swear he swims faster when he's not tapered. It is honestly sensational.
Well, we had this going into British Champs last year. He was swimming 52 points all the time, and then got to Champs and we're like, well, British record's going.
Yeah.
It has to go. And now this year you're leading into Champs just going, well, how low of a 52 are we looking here?
Yeah. I mean, we were talking on poolside thinking, well, maybe like, you know, a 52.5 is now, based on that time, very much well within grasp. And then you're thinking, well, it's only 0.2. I know that's a big margin when it comes to elite swimming. But it's a low 52 on the cards now. And then suddenly you're thinking, that's a world medal right there. Like, we're getting very close to anyway.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
We are getting ahead of ourselves, but a 52.71 is, that's a pretty good time. I mean, it's the second fastest ever. So, you know, that's pretty good going.
And we'll discuss a lot more of Ollie leading into Champs because obviously when you've got a British record watch, we're going to have some good preview on that. But I think the difference that has happened this year is, by the sounds of it, the gym work that he's been doing. He's had a big block and didn't really stop over Christmas as well. And the benefits are showing. Not just 100 back. He swam his first 100 free in a little while and went at 49.1, which had he have swum the individual, he would have won by almost a second.
Yep.
His two back was a 157.3 and his 50 was the 24.7. And it's actually the first time he's done the BUCS triple. Because he's always been pipped here or there. More than likely in the 50 has been where it's got him before.
He really is very capable at all three of those events. There's not very many swimmers, I'm pretty sure, that could do the 50, 100, 200 as well as him, you know? Yeah. I know you have let's say you're going further afield, and let's say Ryan Murphy, he is able to do all of those distances, maybe because of his underwaters. But, Ollie is very strong. I remember him going a 157 at Champs, was it a year ago, 2 years ago? And we were sort of saying, wow, that's amazing, because he'd never gone sub 2 before. And now he's already going 57 for 200 back. Yeah, I mean, the future is promising. I don't want to get too hyped up because it's still early in the season. But, you know, Champs is almost around the corner. What is it, 2 months away? Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how he gets on.
Do you know the biggest disappointment for me? And we'll talk about this at the end. This is his last BUCS.
Yeah, it's disappointing.
I think there's a lot of swimmers. So like Ollie's going, no more Dan Whiffin.
Kiana, I think.
It looks like no more Josh Gammon in the fly. BUCS is a lot worse for these swimmers not racing anymore.
Very much so.
I know Max Litchfield's going for another 3 years somehow. He loves BUCS, and we'll see him around for a little while. But when there's now not going to be an Ollie, there's not, I don't think, going to be Cam Brooker as well.
There's a few.
University seemed, I whinged about it last year, that there's a bit of a reset button happening, especially like BUCS eligibility is it's gonna change. You're not gonna get I don't think you're gonna get the quality of a 100th off a British record again for a while.
No, based on that, probably not. But again, it's almost like a reset button, new Olympic cycle. I keep going on about that. It's just a chance for all these youngsters to suddenly step up and go to uni.
I guess that's what BUCS is as well.
That's what it is. Yeah, it's a three-year cycle, usually 4-year cycle for uni, don't you think? So
yeah. But it gets a bit more competitive, I guess, without Ollie there.
It does, because he kind of destroyed everyone, didn't he?
Smashed everyone.
Yeah. I mean, it's great to watch because he's hitting amazing times, but a bit like you, I guess, we're very much into drama races, close races, like was it men's 200 free? That was good. That was a good finish. Yeah, I like that one. But
okay, other top swimmer then, Lauren Cox on the female side. So these two won the top BUCS award, and I have to say Lauren was looking super, super impressive. The 50 back she got within 4/10 of her personal best.
Yeah,
her personal best, bronze at Worlds. That's just over 4/10 off the British record. So she went a 27.6, and then the 100 she goes a minute 0.3 as well, which again, I think leading into British champs, she's the one to beat on the backstroke.
So do you think so? I was going to throw that to you. Is she now the number 100 backstroke on the women's side? Is she now ahead of Medi, Kathleen? People like
she's that. She's the only one we know of where they're at. But if you're going a minute 0.3s 2 months out from trials, I think you're in a very, very good place.
And the speed is clearly there, going 27.6 as well.
You seen the reel that I put up? I could not believe the turnover.
It is quick, very quick. And people were probably going to think, "Oh, you fast forwarded that. Why have you done that?" Well, no, that's how quick she can spin her arms around.
Rapid.
Yeah, probably a richly deserved top female. But mind you, I think my attention outside of Ollie was Anne Harrod. That 100 breaststroke, the 200 breaststroke, not quite the 50. 50 was okay, sub 31, but the 100 and 200 breaststroke were very quick times, like a 66 for 100 breaststroke. But then she went to 65, one in the relay, one of the relays, which I can't remember now. So those times are good.
The medley relay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spoke to Anne Harrod a little bit at the end of Saturday, so after she swam that 100, and she was actually disappointed that it wasn't a minute 0.5.
Yeah.
Because she got so used to them at the end of last year. But if you look at where she was at this time last year compared to where she is this year, is leaps and bounds. And then you look at her 200 breaststroke where she set a 3-second personal best to go into the 222s. Suddenly, like the 100 was solely the focus last year, let's be honest. Suddenly you're looking at, well, she can do the double now.
That time, I'm pretty sure, would be good enough to qualify for Worlds, I would have thought. Being, fifth Brit of all time, and, British record is 220, something like that, isn't it? 220 high. So, you're not a million miles away, and that's probably going to be good enough, not knowing what the selection times are, of course. But, she was probably the standout swimmer for me outside of Ollie, and Lauren, of course. Some really exciting times. And we said she was the most improved swimmer last year, and at the moment, she's on her way for doing it again, So,
yeah. I mean, the future's bright when you're going 66 and you're disappointed. I mean, seriously, I wouldn't be disappointed. That 66 might win champs, but
might not be wrong.
She's probably going to go even faster based on the relay swims.
I think she'd be disappointed if she goes 66 at champs now. Based on that,
no, 100%. You say she was the one that impressed you the most. I thought Katie Shanahan looked back to her best, especially in the 200 meters individual medley, a 2:10.8.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about overall rankings because the Sterling girls absolutely crushed it this weekend. And yeah, she took out races hard and she held on to the lead for the most part. Like the 400 IM, she didn't get the better of Abby Wood, but Abby Wood was a guest swimmer.
Yeah.
She swam the 100 back in the relays for Sterling. She swam the 200 IM. She did the 200 backstroke as well and just got pipped by teammate Holly McGill.
Yep.
But there was something about her 200 meter IM swim which she just wasn't gonna get beaten by Freya Colbert this time.
Yeah, I kind of circled that race in the preview, thinking that the 200 IM. I know Abby is a guest, but the heat swim of hers of 2:11 actually was still beaten by Casey, and I don't think I would have had Casey beating either of the Freya or Abby. So the fact that she did that, I think I agree with you. She is looking back to her best, and again, if she's doing this sort of time, when Champs comes around, are we looking at a low 2.9, maybe even a high 2.8, and then you're looking pretty decent, you know? So, yeah, and I kind of like the idea of going out strong and then holding on, because she is a strong backstroker. She's got a decent fly on her. And then if you can hold off Freya Colbert on a charging freestyle leg at the end, you're doing something right, I think. So, yeah, she's one to watch out for in Champs. And I don't know if she goes in now favourite for this 200 IM. Probably no, I think Abby. But
I was going to say Abby finaled at the Olympics.
It's a good three-headed race, that one. Plus Leah Schlossen. So, yeah, I mean, that's an exciting race to look forward to in Champs.
No, we say Freya Colbert got beaten in the 2 AM, but she still had some super, super impressive relay swims. We're talking a lot about the girls here. We are, but in all honesty, they were the swims that we took the note of the most.
Yeah.
So Freya Colbert's 100 free, she went a 53.9 on the Saturday and then went a 53.8 on the anchor leg of the medley relay to end the meet, which puts her, I think, 7th or 8th in Britain all time. So she's just 0.1 off what Eva Caro has swam, 100 meters freestyle in a relay,
with a takeover, of course. Yeah.
No, but same with Eva. That's Eva's fastest relay swim.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
7.
Yeah, I mean, to go sub 54 is good, especially when she's more of a 400 IM swimmer. I think that's pretty good.
400 IM should be the target. Yeah.
Well, being doing quite well in the Olympics,
World
obviously.
champion.
Yeah, and world champion, of course. So, yeah, it's very impressive to be able to do 100 free at that speed, as well as all the other events that she does. I don't know if she'll target the 100 free. I don't even if she'll enter it at Champs. She'll just concentrate on her main events, the IMs mainly, I would have thought, and the freestyles. But
she might do it for a relay
as in the 200
like she
free.
did at the Olympics.
She could do, yeah, she could do. And she'd probably she'd make it with that time, definitely. But then she'd have such a busy schedule because she'll do the 200 free as well. So they're
going to take her for a different event, so they'll probably just put her in.
Just put her in, yeah. I mean, again, we're thinking ahead of ourselves here, but based on those times,
we're to start doing it.
We're in mid-February. I mean, that's a solid swim all round. And the 200 IM actually a 2:11. I can't remember what I said in the preview. I think I said if you're going 2:10:11, that's good going. And the fact that you've got 3 of them doing that, very exciting times.
Who else impressed at BUCS this weekend? I'm going to say Greg Butler. He always steps up for Loughborough in the breaststroke. He always performs at BUCS. And to go at minute 0.2, again in February, when I highly doubt he's rested for this, let's be honest, because the target for him isn't BUCS. It's getting on the World's team to Singapore at British Champs. And a lot of these swimmers are now in their big blocks of training heading into that. So to go a minute 0.2 to...
biggest aim for him will be to try and break 60, because I don't think he's ever gone sub 60 before, which would be monumental for him in terms of mental barrier. But then there's a lot of youngsters coming through, like your Max Morgans, for example. There's a bit of a challenge for that second spot, I suppose. If you think Adam's going to race, if you think Adam's going to be there as well.
Yeah, I'm not convinced just yet that Adam's not going to make an appearance at Champs. Who knows? He is back training at Repton. That's all we've seen from a clip that Jamie Mains put out.
Be good if he did, obviously. Yeah,
it'd be very good if he did. But if not, yeah, you're right. I think you're going to 60.2 this time of year, and his 200 was where it is pretty much always this time of year. Ever dependable. You've put yourself in the best opportunity already so far this season to get underneath that minute mark, which I think would be a big target for him at Champs. No matter what the time is that he needs to get selected off, just to finally break that duck.
Yeah. And like I was saying, it's a big mental obstacle to get over that. And then once he does it he'll probably end up doing it time and time and time again.
Fingers crossed.
Hopefully, yeah.
And then I guess one more swimmer, maybe? Before we talk relays?
I think Kiana was pretty solid. Again, getting 1 over on Laura on the 200 fly. Her backhand speed is good, isn't it? I mean, Laura pushes on the third 50, which is kind of what you're supposed to do. It's almost textbook for a 200 swim. But then Kiana, I don't know, just goes a second quicker every time on that final 50 and just pips Laura every single time.
Straight away on the pool deck, I sent you a message and I was just like, I can't remember the last time I watched Kiana race a 200 fly and not pace it well. Every single time, no matter what the finishing time is, it always seems like she's finishing strong. She's finishing the fastest of any swimmer that she's in the water with, especially in this country when I've watched her swim.
Yeah.
It seems like they've got the pacing absolutely nailed for her 200 fly.
The training that she's doing is clearly working. I know that the overall time is probably, I don't know, 209 for this time of year is actually pretty good.
That's all right.
She should be probably quite happy with that, and she can find another second or two at Champs, then she's back on track of where she should be at her lifetime best. So I think that was probably a highlight for her and probably worth mentioning. And then the other name that we keep talking about quite often actually is Holly McGill. 209 again, 209, but in the 200 backstroke, ahead of Shanahan, ahead of Osrin. And again, I think she paced this quite nicely, going a 63.5, I think it was, and then coming back in a 65 high. That's really good going. And I can't remember what I said in the preview, but if she's going 210 this time of year,
210, you'd be happy, and she's gone 2.9.
And she's just gone 2.9. So she is she a favourite suddenly going into Champs? I don't know, but
no. There's 2 Olympians ahead of her. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
I know,
2 Olympians ahead of her, but 209 at BUCS this time of year. We did say in the preview it would make us sit up.
Very much did, and has. Yeah.
It was a good swim. It was a very good swim, and her swim at Champs again goes under the radar because the 2 Olympians were ahead of her, but she was sub 210.
Yeah.
At the Olympic trials.
And she's there early in the season, so who knows what she's going to do in 2 months' time. The 100 backstroke is 101.2. I think she'll probably want that to come a little bit lower, but obviously the 200 backstroke is where she wants to be right now, and that 209 sets her in a good place right now. Surely that's a huge confidence booster as well to get 1 over, or 2 over, I guess, on the 2 Olympians heading into Champs. I mean, that's a
good start.
Just like the women's 200 IM, the 200 backstroke for the women as well is one to watch for sure.
Okay, Dan, let's finish talking BUCS and standout bits by the storylines and the relays and bit of tension to end the meet. So while we wanted to build up drama throughout the competition by understanding the results and like the standings of teams and stuff like that, it wasn't going to come this year. It would have been great for the end of day 1 to understand that, oh look, Stirling girls are ahead of Loughborough. To understand that and build on that story. Like we could have put that out on social media and built some drama, built some, I don't know, some attention-grabbing clips or social quotes or whatever to get people watching the final day live stream. Stuff like that.
Yeah, all day 2 or whatever. Yeah, they should do this on poolside, even like someone just announcing it. Yeah, anyway.
Would have been great. Been great.
Yeah.
But some storylines that hopefully now transfer over to future years is the relays and... I mean, the reactions at the end of the men's medley relay from Bath winning that one. I know they're not going to have a few of those swimmers back next year. But they beat Loughborough by a good body length. And the celebrations on poolside are what we want to see.
Yep.
I'll be brutally honest. I want that, and I want the storyline to build upon that. And I would love if there's a little rivalry building between Bath and Loughborough on the men's side, because Bath came in second at the end of the day. Just like Stirling beat Loughborough on the women's side. So suddenly you've got, okay, there's some drama, some build-up leading from that we can take forward into next year's competition. And we can go into the build-up saying, you know what, watch out for this medley relay, because Bath, probably their celebrations this year, upset Loughborough. And you want to build upon this storyline, the reason so people can tune in, the reason why people stay around for the last race of the meet is to see the Loughborough reaction if they hit the wall first and what they do. Like, it's pantomime stuff, and it's stuff that swimming doesn't have, but swimming needs.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's come to my head is darts. So Luke Littler won the World Champs, didn't he, beating Van Going, and so the next time they meet was the first match in the Premier League. So, of course, all the hype was, can Van Going get 1 over on Luke Littler? And that was it. That was all that needed selling, because then it turned into a massive showdown of the 2 world finalists. And this is the extreme end of darts, for example. But, this is kind of what swimming needs from that point of view as well. Bath have given it the big one.
If you're going to get people to watch.
Yeah, Bath have given it the big one. Can Loughborough next year get one over on them? And maybe the celebration, like you're saying, can be even bigger. And then it starts even... I'm not saying like it should be getting to the point where they're going to start fighting on the poolside, because that's obviously too much. But
it's a bit too far. But it's a reason for people to watch.
Yeah, you see it in America. You see it with all these varsity teams, and they celebrate literally every single win like they've won the world championship. That sort of thing.
They celebrate more than we saw at the Olympic Games.
Yeah, they do. That's actually very true. Yeah. And this is very much what the sport needs. All the time. And again, it comes back to the whole team aspects. If you can get not just the 4 swimmers on poolside doing what they're doing, if you can get people in the crowds doing it, then it builds a whole new atmosphere. And then this is very much what the sport needs at every competition, not just BUCS, every competition.
And that's one of my bugbears as well from BUCS. That I'm going to call them out because I was there. Stirling women, you won the title, right? I think everyone leading into the final day knew it was close between Stirling and Loughborough. Whenever there was a Stirling swimmer behind the block, it was silent.
No, really?
And I feel like that bit could change.
But again, that could be like the announcer just sort of hyping up.
To be fair, no, I think it's on Stirling to be a bit louder and celebrate the swimmers. But they didn't take a massive squad. Like when you looked at the trophy presentation of the size of the Stirling women's team compared to the Loughborough men's team when they both got handed the trophies, I would say this men's team was a good double the size of the Stirling women's team that was taken. So it was a small team, and they were probably in and out of the pool and stuff like that. And it's a long way to bring a big squad down from Stirling. But now you're the reigning champions. I would love to hear it being louder, like even louder on the pool deck.
Yeah, I mean, the best example for swimming wise in this country would be Arena League, I guess, because the Arena League is loud. But at the same time, I think you can kind of work out where the standings are as you go through the competition. Whereas, I don't know if we should call them out, but maybe we will. But we got the results through someone writing on a piece of paper and sending a message to us. Whereas that's maybe that's not the best way. Maybe we should have it on the scoreboard and people actually know what the results
we'll keep saying this.
But as it is. But maybe, I don't know. It's difficult because Stirling, they have the small squad. Some might be swimming down and they might not be able to watch.
Yeah,
but I think maybe they should put an effort into watching it, since it's the last race on the last day. And
it wasn't just the last race. It was like constantly throughout.
It's throughout the whole weekend.
It was fairly quiet for their swimmers. So I just thought, you know what? Point for next year. Bring a megaphone or bring a drum or bring a cowbell or something like that.
Very American here, but yeah.
Or just take I don't know. I'm sure there's plenty of squad swimmers that just want to come for, obviously it's a performance centre, Stirling, but there's another bow to the university setups. There always is. That you get the social swimmers who want to swim at Bustle and do that sort of events. Maybe bring a minibus full of those down who aren't going to be competing at the top end of BUCS, but want to go for a night out in Sheffield. Because BUCS has that element to it as well. It has that enjoyment. And those are your guys on the pool deck that you expect them. If you're going to be part of this, if we're going to get a minibus to bring you down, you're going to pay for a hotel for a weekend out. You get to swim occasionally, if you want to swim. But you're there with let's say the cowbell. You're there with the cowbells, and there's a big presence on poolside. And suddenly, Birmingham do it really well. Everyone is on their feet for the whole session. Loughborough have the drum, and just there's elements and there's swimming. It was a really good meet, but swimming can always improve. We know this. We can always improve with what we're doing. We always try to improve.
Well, we've set our suggestions with the scoreboard and bits and pieces like that, but. We can keep saying it till we're blue in the face, but we unfortunately can't do that by ourselves. It's going to have to be from the higher ups in terms of who's leading BUCS on poolside and all the rest of it. But we will keep going. We will keep saying what we can.
If I knew the results at the end of each day, we would have put up a social media post.
Well, exactly.
We would have done it. Quite simple. We got the results onto our Instagram as quickly as we possibly could, even though we only know the top 5, and I would love to know beyond the top 5 as well. But we'll have this discussion this time next year when we get to short course, I'm sure.
Yeah, again, tanging off a little bit, but like the Premier League, for example, in the football, sometimes the race for the top 4 isn't actually that exciting. It's the bottom guys avoiding relegation. Sometimes that's the bigger talking point, and actually just not getting results of the top 5, but we need the ones lower down, who are the ones, okay, they finished 15th this year. If they finish 10th next year, then that's actually a great result and they're working on the right direction. And that's maybe the storyline that we need to talk about as well.
Give every squad a reason to be there as a team in a way, rather than just your individual swims that pop up that you don't know if they make a dent on the table or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Okay. Before we start going too negative a little bit like we did last week, that's going to round up this week's episode of the Propulsion Swimming Podcast. We are going to line up a few guest interviews as we lead into... Well, we've got the Edinburgh International. We've got a twist of an episode coming for our Arena League preview, which is a little bit of a fun one that me and Dan have already recorded. And then we're well on our way to British Champs, which, of course, is the headline meet in this country. And we'll get some guests on ahead of that one. Mm-hmm. So that just about rounds up this week's episode. If you haven't subscribed already on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, please do so. And me and Dan will see you guys in 7 days' time.
Yeah, thank you for listening, everyone, and we'll catch you on the next one.
You've been listening to the Propulsion Swimming Podcast with Scott and Dan. We want to thank you for joining us and invite you to subscribe to the show, as well as checking out the Propulsion Swimming YouTube channel for weekly tutorials and videos to get your swimming fix. We will be back next week. Until then, we'll catch you on the next one.